Hi, this is Wilderness Surviving to Thriving, and in this video I'm going to show you how to prepare acorns for consumption. Now in this video I'm going to show you how to do it in like a survival situation or in the backwoods, like if you were backpacking. In another video, which I'm going to make in about 2 weeks, I'll show you how I would do it at home. Now there's several different ways of doing it, different combinations, what have you. I'll show you the way I prefer to do it at home and in the woods, and I'll explain the reason why in this video. So stay tuned. Let me go ahead and collect some acorns, and this is how you do it in the back. Okay, look at these beauties here. So I'm collecting the acorns here, and this is just a great survival food. The Native Americans, if times got hard, I read one time that this was about 50% of their diet. These things do stay around for 2 years or so they can really incorporate this with their whole year of living. But this is a fantastic survival food. It has a large amount of proteins, carbohydrates, fats, as well as like calcium, phosphorus. I'm trying to think what else. I think it has vitamin B, potassium, a lot of other minerals and vitamins I can't think of right now, but it's packed with like a lot of stuff. Another beautiful thing about this, unlike maybe like your walnuts, your hickories, your hazelnuts, stuff like that, those ones I just mentioned are really hard to get to the nut for the most part. It's a lot of work and it's a little nut in there. This is a big nut here, and a lot of times I call it meat, so I call the nut the meat, so you're probably going to hear that from me a couple times. But this is great. So as far as the shell right here, it's easy to take off, which I'll show you in a little bit. And it's just a thin little layer, and the whole thing is meat. It's a nut, big giant nut. So that's great. You just do a little bit of work, a minute or two of work, collecting it, what have you, and it will really put a lot of calories in you. So now what do you want to look for when you are collecting these? Something like this. It's perfect. If it has mold to it, you don't want it. For obvious reasons. Other things, if it has a hole in there, it could be like an exit hole, I believe it is, from like a moth larva or weevil or something like that. So you basically you don't even want to mess with that. Don't even bother wasting your energy. There's nothing inside that one anyways, and I believe they're exit holes, not entering holes. If it was entering holes, if you wanted to, you can have a little larva treat, but I don't know if you want to go there. I guess those are edible. But that's what you want to look for. You want to look for ones that don't have mold, doesn't have that. Oh, another thing is with a cap. If this cap is attached to it, now the tree dropped it for a reason, so you probably don't want that. This time of year you can be really choosy with which ones you pick out, for the fact that this is the fall and they're very plentiful this time of year. So within a matter of minutes you can have a whole meal just get on the ground and picking them up. It's really easy to do. I was watching a movie or a show about squirrels, and they know the difference between like the whites and the reds, for instance. The whites, the show said that germinates with that year, that fall, and they said the reds will germinate the following spring. So in the springtime. So what the squirrels do is they'll bite the growth part of the acorn and then bury it, and therefore they can have their whites even in the springtime, which is pretty cool. They're pretty smart, I guess. So, but anyway, so like the squirrel show said, the whites, you want to pick them up right away because they germinate faster than the reds. So you can find these things, give or take a couple months or whatever, 6 months of the year. You might even be able to find them in the summertime if you find a squirrel stash or something. Who knows? There might be some left over there. I'm trying to think back, see if I ever found one in good shape in the summertime. I can't remember. But yeah, you can find this all times, a lot of the year. So that's good. And also, like I said, before, what I mentioned is that if you put this in a dry place, it can last for over 2 years or so. So about 2 years. So that's pretty good, and that's what the Native Americans do. That's what I do sometimes also. But anyways, so let me go ahead and let's collect some more, and we'll start cracking. Before we start cracking, I just want to let you know that you should collect these things when you see them. for the most part, they could be plentiful where you are, but where you're going, they might not be so plentiful. For the fact that there might not be oak trees where you're going, or the fact that, everything eats these things. You have insects that eat them. You have, omnivores, herbivores. Everything out there eats these, So basically, collect them when you see them, and therefore you'll have them and you'll get your fill. So when you're, at the campsite or whatever. So we'll start cracking now. Okay, I collected a few of them here. I'm not going to make a lot of this because I really don't like the taste of the stuff. It's very bland, I think. The Native Americans, to spice it up, they put in berries and other things. Since these kept for a couple years, they were able to use these whenever the berries were in season. I guess this time of year, well, it's a little late now, but I guess choke cherries, they probably could, that's in early October, I guess. But anyway, so they put different things in there, beets, stuff like that, to spice it up a little bit. But anyways, I'm just going to show you how to crack it. Just find them here. If just put it on, an end, put it on the end like that, one of the ends. Just tap it with a rock or so, a few times like that, and it should just come right apart. You can just peel it apart with your hands if you're having trouble. What you can do is you can use a knife or whatever, but it comes apart pretty easily. If you want to ahead of time, you can, if you have a container like this, which this is a container is something that everybody should have in the backcountry. So if you have a container, you can heat it up first, and what that will do is that will get rid of some of the moisture in there. So just how, like, we haven't been drinking anything for a day or so, we shrink a little bit. This will separate, shrink a little bit and separate the meat from the shell for the most part. So that will do that, but that's not necessary. I really don't do it that way. But anyways, so I'm just collecting this and just putting this in the jar just like that, and you can see how much meat comes out here. There's a lot of meat, so you really don't need much to fill you up. See, it comes out in a nice big chunk. If you want to make this easier, you can break it up even more for the next part, but I'm just going to continue collecting this, and then I'll be back and we'll continue. Okay, when I'm continuing doing this, cracking these shells, just want to talk to you a little bit about tannins. So the next step is, these things can have a lot of tannins in there, and I'll get more into tannins on my next video, but you want to remove them. That's what I'll tell you now. Basically, it will decrease the efficiency of your body to like absorb nutrients and stuff like that. In this situation, you need your nutrients, so we'll just get rid of the tannins. Plus, it tastes better without the tannins, so you don't want that in there. So if you don't have a pot, I'll show you in another video how to make a pot out there, so you can do this. If you don't have fire, what you can do is you can go ahead and crack these and put the shells, put them in like a sock, and then throw them in the water, a stream that's moving, and what will happen, it will remove all the tannins. Now, how long will it take? I don't know. It depends on how fast the current is moving, what kind of acorn you have, everything else, because some acorns have more tannins than others. So it all depends on that kind of, there's a lot of variables involved. Just taste it. If it tastes bitter, then it's not done. But if it's a fast-moving creek, obviously faster, slower, a little bit longer maybe. Another way of doing it is you can do it with cold water. You can put it in there and then soak it for like half a day or so, or a couple hours. Just dump out the water when it turns color. Every time you see it's turned color, dump out the water. Do it several times a day, actually, several times a day if you want to speed up the process. And then same thing, if it doesn't taste bitter, then you know it's done. But this is in an emergency situation in the backcountry. I don't want to wait for water to do it. I want to heat it, because the heating process and removing the tannins the way I'm going to show you is the fastest way possible. So if you don't have this, a cup, like I said, I'll show you in another video how to make a cup. If you don't have a sock, you don't want to waste your sock. If you want to put it in the river, what you could do is you can just build like a little box out of rocks or sticks or something just to stop the acorns from floating downstream. And just when it doesn't taste bitter anymore, you can consume it. But it's very bland tasting. You can always put the acorn next to the fire, roast it after you remove the tannins, and that's another way that you can consume it. But I'll show you what I'm going to show you is how to make flour with this, and that's what I'll show you next. Another thing you might want to, I don't know if this matters in the backcountry, but if you have one with a cap on it, depends on the species and everything else, but a lot of times the tree dropped this for a reason, so this might not be a good one. but am I going to be that selective in the backcountry? I don't know. I'll open it up to see, what's inside, see how it looks. Maybe it has more tannin, I don't know, but the tree dropped it for a reason. You really want to look for the ones that are out of the cap there. I meant to say the cap. So, but yeah, see, these are perfect. They don't have caps, no mold, no holes in them. That's what you want to go for. So let me get back to you. Let me light a fire, and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, I just want to show you, like I said, the ones with the cap. I just cracked this one open, and it's basically gone inside. It's just like all, I don't know, dirty looking in there. So it's not good. Here's another one with a cap. Probably the same thing. A lot of times, when they first drop with a cap, yeah, see, that's garbage. It just falls apart. So, yeah, just leave the caps alone, for the most part. Sometimes you have new ones that fall with a cap, and those ones, they're lighter in color sometimes. Those ones, I don't know. I've never tried eating those. There's so many acorns out here. They're so plentiful. I've never decided to, test out whether, if it tastes more bitter than the other ones or not. But let me know, guys, if you ever eaten one with the caps on it versus not the caps, and let me know how it tastes. But as far as sitting on the ground for a while with the caps on, yeah, there's definitely something wrong with it. As you can see, I went to the river and I filled up my cooking pot here. The river is right there. I think we use that for like some kind of sesame chicken or something. So there's sesame seeds floating on top. That'll just add flavors to it. That's good. But anyways, you can go to the river, put that in the pot like that, and we're gonna get that to the boiling. As you can see, it already changed color already, and it's gonna get a darker color in a little bit. Once it's gets to a really dark color, dump it out and refill it, and keep on doing that a few times. Okay. Okay, it's been sitting for a little bit, and you see the color. Might be a little soy sauce in there, but that's the color. I'm just going to take my Little Survivor's throwing stick here and just empty out the water. I'm going to put it back in my little cooking spot. I'm trying to leave the handles out so it's not so hot. It's warm, but not burning too much. Then I'm going to bring the river right here. And let's do it again. Okay, I changed the water a few times, and it's still pretty dark, as you can see. Still pretty dark, so I know this is not close to being, it's not done. Ow, just burnt myself. But let's go ahead. How do you know when it's done? Let's go ahead and taste it. Oops, I'll drop it. A little dirt, never hurt anybody. Still very bitter. And you can see there's big chunks in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to make them smaller chunks. That way the tannin can get removed faster. So I'm just going to put this on the ground, and I'm just going to take a stick and go like this. You can also use a rock, put it on a flat rock, use a grinding stone, and just grind it down. If it's smaller pieces, the tannin will get removed faster. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, as you can see here, I mashed it up a little bit, and it looks like that now. I'll show you why in a little bit. I really don't go down to powder form much more than this, and I'll show you why. I'm doing another video on how to make acorn flour at home, and I'll show you the difference between that in a minute. But that's what it looks like now. Which one is the best? Which way is the best way in a survival situation? To do it all depends on your situation. First of all, are you near a river? Are you near puddles? What are you near? Maybe everything. Maybe you do it all. What you do is maybe you should put some in the river and let the river do the tannins and get the tannins out. Now that's the least amount of energy going that way, but it takes the longest. And then while you're doing that, maybe you should take some and start cooking some. And when you're cooking it, are you on the move tomorrow? Are you hanging out and hunkering down in this area? This all depends, chopping it up like this removes the tannins a lot faster. So, but can you transport this? I don't know. Maybe you leave it in chunks. That way you can transport it. But, like I said, it might not get out all the tannins. But, so it all depends on what your scenario is and what you should do. So, now as far as flour, we're going to, you could crush this up a little bit more, put it on the rock. I'd use this stick here to do it so far, and you see it's a flat end, so I was able to do it. a little bit, but to get it further down, a rock and a grinding stone works a little bit better. So, as far as removing all the tans, my last pour, it was kind of clear, but not totally clear. It's kind of really hard to remove all the tans. So just remove as much as you can. And I changed this a bunch of times. I dumped out the water and add new water to it. I did it about I don't know, 10 times or so. If you had a bigger cup, you would have to pour out the fluid a lot less. But this is a small cup, so I did it a bunch of times. So, but anyways, yeah. So survival situation, it all depends on what the situation is and what you do, or do them all, whatever the case. And what I'm going to do here now is I'm just going to roast this a little bit over the fire. And in a survival situation, I think just eating it the way it is right here is the best. This is the fastest way of doing it. Because I would probably just roast this up and just probably just wait it to cool down and just eat it that way. And then then I'd probably do some more in chunks so I can carry it wherever I'm going, and that'll be my snack on the road because it's hard to carry powder. And then then I have my reserves in the water. They're working to remove that, so I'll pick up those at the end, and that takes a couple of days to do probably. But like I said, I'm not going to give you any guidelines or anything like that on how long it takes. If you just taste it and it doesn't taste bitter, it's done. So so do all three in a survival situation, whatever you can do. If you don't have a fire, then the river or water is your only option, and you could just eat it raw, I guess. It might not be too palatable. It's not too if this is not that palatable, go ahead and roast it more. Throw in some stuff. Just do whatever you can. But so several ways of doing it, and let me go ahead and just roast this a little bit, and I'll get back. Okay, just kind of evaporated the water out, and I just made a little spoon, just really fast. But survival situation. There you go, delicious. Nah, just very bland tasting, but it'll keep you alive. It's good. But if you wanted to, you can put it on a rock. And like I said, I don't like doing it this way because you waste some stuff. You see that? I just wasted some. And why you want to waste your food? You know what I mean? So, you can just take a rock. A good river stone is a lot better than this one. Round river stone, but I'll use that part right there. You can grind it up more like that if you want. And then, you know what? I'm not really going to do that, but you can grind it up. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a little patty. And the reason why, I should add a little bit of water. I forgot to get water. The reason why I don't like to do it this way is because, at home I'm saying I don't like to do it this way, is because it doesn't really bind that well. As you can see, it's kind of falling apart. And that's the problem when you cook it and stuff, like ahead of time. It just doesn't bind well. You need some kind of binding agency, like eggs or, I don't know, something that, will bind it in nature. So I do it differently at home. So check out my video on how to make acorn flour at home. This is just how to do it in a survival situation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of water back into it, mold it, put it on the rock, and we'll bank it like, I don't know, people do it that way. Like I said, it's a waste. Look, it's everywhere. Don't do it this way in a survival situation. Just eat it right out of this. Okay, I got a little bit of water here, so I'm just gonna wet my hands for the most part. Maybe I need to use my spoon here. Just get a little wet. And then I'm just gonna make a patty. So I'm just gonna do this and make a patty. A little bit of water on there. Now, what you want to do at this point, if you're going to do it this patty way, get your rock nice and hot first. This is not hot yet. You can tip it up like this at an angle if you want to, so that way the heat gets right on it. Prop it up with a rock underneath. Do whatever. Once it's hot, make your little patty, put it on there, and then you just bake it. Bake it like that, and like I said, it's gonna fall apart a little bit on you, but that's okay. Bake it and enjoy your blandness. Beautiful. okay, at the end of my videos, I just like to sum things up that maybe I didn't make clear or whatever, or just some additional things I forgot. But the best way to do it is in a survival situation is while this was heating up the water, I also would have this on the fire too, heating up. So this is already at a boil. That way, as soon as I dump this out, this is ready to go, and this is hot already. So I use two at the same time. So that's just an additional thing to know. I just want to cover some things I know I made a mistake with. Hazelnuts. I included hazelnuts with like walnuts and stuff. Now hazelnuts are not that bad to crack, and they're whole nuts there. So they're whole nuts. So they're, it's a lot of meat in there, as I call it. So, and the other thing I wanted to mention is, I made a mistake. I said put the shells in the sock. Obviously, I think you figured that out. You put the nut in the sock, not the shells. So I just want to make that. All my methods also of removing tannin is with water. If you know another way of removing tannins, please let me know. But I was talking about cold water. One time I think I said something about I don't like water to do it. I meant cold water. So cold water takes the longest. So cold water and hot water. That's the way I was cooking it. So I just want to make that clear. And other than that, check out my video. I'm going to do things a little bit differently with my next video on how to cook it at home. So check out that. I do it a different way. I'm going to make acorn flour at home. So definitely check out that video. And this is Wilderness Surviving to Thriving. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.